July 29, 2024, was a horror-filled night for the people of Wayanad, a picturesque district in the southern state of Kerala, India. This is the rainy season in this part of the country, and every year people are accustomed to witnessing heavy rainfalls accompanied by sporadic incidents of landslides. Locals here are used to the sight of continuous rainfall, and those living by the riverbanks are familiar with the sight of swollen rivers. For many, it's a scene of paradise on earth, especially in villages like Mundakai and Choralmala, known for their scenic beauty. The night of July 29th brought back memories of the 2004 tsunami that hit Acheh, Indonesia. Everything around was floating. Houses were swept away and vanished in seconds. Uprooted trees came down with massive rocks, and the area quickly filled with muddy water, rocks, and huge logs. All of this devastation occurred during the night of July 29th and the early hours of July 30th. Victims later confirmed that an inexplicable sense of fear had infused the evening. The region is densely covered with forests and is home to a significant number of wild elephants. Victims experienced an eerie phenomenon as these elephants were seen climbing the nearby hills just hours before the disaster. Several people were reported dead, missing, or injured. Rescue operations were challenging due to the continuous rain and difficult terrain, but local authorities, along with the National Disaster Response Force, NDRF, worked tirelessly to evacuate affected residents and provide relief. The Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force coordinated a well-executed rescue operation under the toughest conditions. Today, both Mundakai and Choralmala area is completely wiped off. Very few homes that withstood the havoc can be seen here and there. Even the residents are shocked to see a now muddy land that once thrived with their laughter. Now, with each passing day, victims are struggling to get back to a normal life. A normal life, if at all, will now be without their family, friends, and relatives. The following video footage shows victims sharing their disturbing ordeal on the fateful night of July 29th.
We could hear noises in the neighborhood, so we were awake and couldn't sleep. Just around 2 a.m., we heard the scary sound of heavy water and a landslide. Even before we could gather what was happening, muddy water reached our home, and we immediately took shelter in a neighbor's house. Soon, we could hear trapped people screaming in despair. My husband rushed out and brought around 6 to 7 people, including a small child. Her hair was full of mud, and some of these people had blood oozing from their noses and mouths. We were just trying to come to terms with what had happened when we heard another roar from a landslide. Then we all rushed out to save our lives. Some of the people we saved were swept away. I can't explain. It's very painful to see our friends dying.
My son is 3.5 years old, and we are still terrified. That night, there was heavy rainfall. It rained nonstop, and we had a strange fear as if something was about to happen. At midnight, we saw water in the front yard as we lived near the bank of the river. In seconds, we heard noises like many helicopters hovering above us. Fearing it was a landslide, we fled to our neighbor's house. Just about an hour later, there was another huge roar. This second landslide took many lives. We ran again and took shelter on the nearby hilltops, from where the rescue teams took us to the shelter camps.
I saw flat land where our house used to be. It feels like a bad dream. I can still feel the muddy water around me. I don't even know how we made it out. All my neighbors, 7 or 8 families who lived nearby, are gone. We survived only because I knew how to swim, thank God. The rushing water swept the neighbors' 3-story buildings away, crashing into our house and trapping us inside. I can hardly believe I survived. It felt like an ocean around me. Water, things, trees, everything was muddy slush. I found myself trapped, but I noticed some holes inside the debris. Desperately, I pushed the bricks aside and somehow managed to jump outside. Then I heard my granddaughter screaming stuck under a tree. I somehow pulled her and rushed out. After we finally stopped, we found ourselves on a hill directly in front of an elephant. It was dark, and we were terrified. We pleaded with the elephant. "We've just survived a disaster. We're scared. Please don't cause us any more harm." As we looked closer, we saw tears streaming from its eyes, as if it understood our suffering. We lay down near its leg and stayed there until nearly 6 a.m.
So, these are overwhelming stories coming from the survivors. The ordeal that each one went through is heart-wrenching. Now, they are all coping with their losses in the shelter camps. Ironically, the area has a history of landslides. These landslides highlight the area's vulnerability to natural disasters, raising concerns about the impact of deforestation and unplanned development in such ecologically sensitive zones. In a nation often marred by incidents of religious clashes, especially in the northern part of India, this tragedy in Kerala brought people together. Amidst the pain and loss, a sense of humanity and unity emerged. All that the residents wish for is to be relocated somewhere far away but with their community.